Hey gardeners, how's it going? Jason here, just sitting under the dappled shade of this arborvitae tree in my front yard of the house that I'm renting. So, first I wanted to just let you guys know that I appreciate all the likes, all the subscriptions. There haven't been any comments yet, but whenever those come, I also appreciate those. And just the views in general. It shows that you guys are interested in the content that I'm putting out, and I just really appreciate it. So I wanted to tell you guys that. The other thing is that I noticed that I'm putting out content, right? And I have a channel and I have a small business from Seed to Sprout Home Nursery here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. But one of the things that I haven't done yet is give you guys any information on myself. Now, there is some information that you can find in the About Me section under my channel from Seed to Sprout Home Nursery, but you guys might not go and read that. Like, I don't normally read those either on other people's YouTube channels, so I figured I would just make a little About Me video just so you guys can get a little idea of who I am and what I'm about. So the first thing, I love plants, obviously. I'm running a nursery, but it's not a nursery that's really solely for profit. It is very near and dear to my heart to be able to grow plants for a living. I garden as a hobby, and I have an educational background in plant sciences. So I did go to New Mexico State University in Alamogordo, the community college, and I obtained my associate's degree in general science. And then I moved up to Las Cruces to obtain my bachelor's degree in horticulture. Originally, I was going for environmental science, but I wasn't a fan of the program necessarily. So I decided, I like plants and I want to learn more about them, so I'm going to go into the field of horticulture. So I did that, got my 4-year degree in horticulture, and then the original idea was to try to become the community forester for the city in which I worked as I was obtaining my bachelor's degree. So I worked in a city nursery during my undergrad year, where I was taking care of 3,000 plus trees. They basically just went to that nursery to die. They weren't taken well care of by the previous person before me, the previous employee before me. So I came up with the idea to start hosting tree plantings weekly in Las Cruces. So there's over 100 parks in Las Cruces, residential parks, public parks, little mini parks, stuff like that. So I decided to plant some trees. So I got the list for an organization called the Tree Stewards in Las Cruces, and I would just send out these mass emails once a week letting them know what kind of trees we'd be planting, where we'd be planting them, what time we'd be planting them, and things like that. So people would show up to these tree plantings, and then we would just plant a bunch of trees just randomly throughout the city of Las Cruces. So I did a lot of that. I did a lot of planting of annuals and perennials in the downtown Main Street and in front of Unidad Park. I'm not sure if those are still there, but I've done a lot of plantings, like thousands of trees I've planted throughout my course of working for Las Cruces. And before I got into the position for the city of Las Cruces, I worked for a company called Groundwork, where we worked alongside the city of Las Cruces Parks and Recreation Department, where we transformed medians and right-of-ways and planted trees in parks and removed sod and things like that. And when I was employed through Groundwork, as when I took a class to get my qualified water efficient landscaping certification. Only 4 of us passed, I believe, out of like 12 or 16 of us. But you get above an 80% on the test and you get your certification. So I ended up getting my qualified water efficient landscaper certification through that company and through that job. So what's next? I became interested in getting this community forester position, but unfortunately the position was going to be filled by somebody that already had their degree. I was going to get my bachelor's degree. I hadn't gotten it yet, and I was going to get it by the time I applied for this position, but they wanted someone that already had a bachelor's degree. So I needed a plan B. I got interested in the art and science of phytoremediation. And if you don't know what phytoremediation is, it's using plants to remove contaminants from either the soils or the waterways, or things like that. So I started really researching that, and I happened to be taking a soils class with somebody who was over at NMSU in Las Cruces, New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, who happened to be working with phytoremediation. So I contacted her and was like, hey, would you like to take me on as a graduate student? And she said, yeah, she would love to take me on as a graduate student. And so I said, okay. And then I ended up getting into graduate school under her guidance, working on, it wasn't necessarily phytoremediation at that point, because I wasn't just working with plants, but I started working with bioremediation. So there was a mine spill that happened up in 2015 in southern Colorado, northern New Mexico area and spilled a bunch of water into the Animas River, which connects into the San Juan River watershed. And basically it turned the whole river orange because of the iron oxides. So the EPA was interested in trying to find solutions for that, so it ended up becoming a fully funded project where they were looking for ways to remediate the water. So I looked at duckweed, Lemna minor, which is an aquatic plant native to all lower 48 states, and I looked at the ability of it to remove iron from the water, and then I degraded it with oyster mushroom mycelium, and then I looked for any translocation or metal transfer from the duckweed to the oyster mushroom fruiting bodies to see if we'd be able to effectively remediate this iron from the water. So as I was getting into graduate school, I was also working on a project called a tree identification project for the trees of Young Park, which is here located in Las Cruces, New Mexico. There's over 500 trees individually, not over 500 species, but over 500 trees in that park alone. And so we decided to choose like a big park in order to get a good idea of what kind of trees would grow around here, and identification and mapping purposes. And it's basically like a self-guide where each species of tree is numbered along a designated path, and then the idea is whoever's interested is going to look at the pamphlet and then walk around and be able to identify the trees based off of descriptive characteristics such as leaf shape, fall color, and distinguishing characteristics like that. So that was just supposed to be one project, but then they had 2 more sites that they wanted to do, and they were going to hire somebody else, and I was just like, well, why don't you guys just leave me on so you don't have to worry about hiring somebody else or whatever. And that's exactly what they did. So they sent me over to Hobbs, New Mexico, to New Mexico Junior College, and they also sent me up to Santa Fe for the St. John's Liberal Arts College, and I did a tree identification project at both of those places as well, and I ended up getting a first author publications through NMSU Extension for all 3 of those tree identification guides. Linked in the About Me section in my actual YouTube channel main page, but I'll also link the description or put the links in the description below. So as I was wrapping up graduate school, I did get a job as a mushroom farmer growing commercial mushrooms for this lady that was starting a small business. I did that for a summer, but it was more or less like a warehouse job. Definitely not knocking the company or the lady, it just personally wasn't my favorite thing to do. And I really liked teaching because I did teach throughout graduate school. I taught a variety of courses and labs, including environmental science, including plant propagation, greenhouse management, things like that. And I did end up getting my master's degree in plant and environmental sciences. So I ended up leaving that job and found somebody else for her to work with to replace me, and ended up teaching a couple more classes, including plant identification classes over at the university at NMSU. And then I ended up obtaining my Master's of Science, like I said, in Plant and Environmental Sciences. And the next step was to email the New Mexico State University in Alamogordo, because they don't have a horticulture class. And I emailed them and was just like, hey, I noticed you guys don't have a horticulture class. I would like to create one and introduce it. And they said, okay, send us your CV and your credentials. And that's exactly what I did. And then they got everything, and they ended up hooking the class up, and it almost didn't make it the first semester, but I ended up getting, the minimum amount of students that I needed for that semester. And then I ended up teaching like a few semesters down there at the University in Alamogordo. At the same time, once I was getting out of graduate school, my co-advisor just ended up getting a pretty large grant to study chili pepper disease. Now, I am no plant pathologist, I am now, but I didn't have a background in plant pathology. So when I first started that job, I was completely at wit's end. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to kill plants on purpose, So it took a little while to get used to that, but that's what I'm doing now. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, is studying specific chili pepper diseases and pathogens that are ravaging the Southwest, to include Phytophthora blight of chili, Verticillium wilt of chili, and Rhizoctonia root rot of chili. So that's where I'm currently at, but I'm also on the side a full-time father, raising an 8-year-old son. I'm also a coach at a mixed martial arts gym here in southern New Mexico called Steel Dragon MMA. I coach the kids, and then when my sensei's not there, I also coach the adults. I am a jiu-jitsu competitor. I also should potentially be making my boxing debut here in August. So there's a lot going on, and then of course I run the nursery as well. So again, it's just a love of all plants. I'm not trying to mass produce a lot of plants to be able to become rich or become some viral sensation or whatever. I really just, I understand plants, I've studied plants, and I really just love plants. I could just sit out in the garden all day, and you can hear the birds. You can hear the cars too, but you can hear the birds. I'll literally just sit there and watch the insects hang out, pollinate the flowers. I'll watch the ladybugs eat the aphids, the praying mantises. I found a toad this morning hanging out in the backyard. There's all kinds of lizards and stuff. I don't spray any pesticides, so no insecticides, no herbicides, any of that stuff. I grow the plant to attract the nature that it's going to attract. I work with nature, and I try not to work against nature, if that makes sense. So any questions that you have for me, feel free to leave a comment. I know this was kind of a longer form video, which aren't as big of a hit as the shorts, but I do appreciate if you made it this far. I appreciate you listening to me ramble about the things that I've done. And if you haven't already, then please subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and throw a like on there, share some videos, comment. It really helps the algorithm. Every single like, every single subscription, things like that really help the channel grow. And I just want to spread education of desert gardening in the Southwest, because we have pretty hot summers here, and but we also have mild winters. So if you do things correctly, you can be growing something all year long. So stay tuned for more. There'll definitely be updates on the garden. We actually just bought a plot of land that we're waiting to build a house on, and then we're gonna see that from zero to hero. You know, we're gonna see that from the very bare land that it is, and the idea is on this channel I'm going to show you that and then show you the build up to what it actually becomes. So again, thank you. And also Facebook and Instagram links in the about section of the YouTube channel homepage. So go check out the business pages on the different socials, so Facebook and Instagram, because then you'll see the plants that I have for sale in Las Cruces and surrounding areas. Again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.